If you had told me last year that I'd be sitting in a diner at midnight, alone, nursing black coffee like it owed me money, I would have laughed and gone back to flipping burgers on the grill at the backyard barbecue my wife had organized. Back when I was still blissfully stupid. Back when trust was something I gave out like candy on Halloween. But here we are. The air smelled like scorched toast and broken dreams. My name's Elijah, Eli for short. 39 years old, mid-level project manager, proud owner of a beat-up Ford Escape, and until recently, husband to a woman who could lie better than a poker table. This all started the week I flew out to Phoenix for a leadership conference. The kind of trip where the hotel smells like lemons and regret, and the coffee tastes like someone boiled down a printer manual. 3 days. That's all I was supposed to be gone. Day 1. I landed. Sat through 6 hours of corporate jargon that could have been solved with one email and half a brain cell. Day 2. More of the same, plus a networking dinner that felt like speed dating for people who live and die by quarterly projections. Day 3. Well, day 3 was when everything started to crack. I was scrolling through my texts on a break when I saw something odd. A message from the florist. Your arrangement has been delivered to room 312 at the Maplewood Inn. Thank you for choosing us. Now, here's the thing. I didn't send flowers. And I sure as sin wasn't staying at the Maplewood Inn. That was across town. The sender's name? Elijah Ford. My name. I stared at it like it owed me an apology. At first, I figured it had to be a mix-up. Some other guy with my name, maybe. Happens, right? So I called the florist, just to clear it up. Of course, Mr. Ford, the woman chirped. You ordered the lover's whisper bouquet, roses, lilies, a bit of baby's breath for delivery yesterday afternoon. Special instructions to my wildflower. Room 312. I almost dropped the phone. I hadn't sent flowers. I hadn't written that note. And the only wildflower I knew was my wife, June, who, last I checked, was supposed to be at home feeding our golden doodle and texting me memes about office politics. The blood in my ears started doing drum solos. I asked the florist for a copy of the receipt. It was paid in cash. Classic. No trail. No fingerprints. But someone had used my name. I ended the call, pushed away from the table, and that's when I noticed the Uber receipt. It was sitting in my email, timestamped for that very morning. Pickup, our house. Destination, the Maplewood Inn. Except I wasn't home. And June hadn't said a word about going anywhere. I sat back in the stiff hotel chair, arms folded tight across my chest, and stared out the window like the clouds might explain something. That's when I knew. Something was off. Something ugly. But I wasn't going to confront her over the phone. I'm not a yeller. I'm a planner. I wanted the full picture before I made a move. So I packed up, cut my trip short, and caught the first red-eye home. I had a key to every lock in that house. But some doors, I was about to find out, weren't made of wood and metal. They were made of lies, and June had locked them all tight. I landed just after sunrise, bone-tired and wired all at once. One of those contradictory moods where your hands are steady but your stomach's rehearsing for a rodeo. I didn't call June. I didn't text. I didn't want to tip her off, give her time to scrub the tracks. I wanted to see the truth for myself, fresh and ugly. The Uber ride back to our house was quiet. Driver didn't say a word. Just hummed to the radio while I sat in the back seat, watching familiar roads blur past like memories I wasn't sure I could trust anymore. Our neighborhood was still half asleep when I got there. Lawns dew-covered. Flags hanging limp. I stood outside my own front door, suitcase in one hand, keys in the other, wondering if I should even bother knocking. Funny thing, doubt. Once it cracks the door, it doesn't stop until the whole place is drafty. I stepped inside. The house was clean. Too clean. Like someone had just run a guilt-powered vacuum across every inch of it. The air smelled like lemon polish and something floral faint, fading, but still there. I set my bag down. Walked the familiar path from the entry to the kitchen. Her phone sat on the counter, unlocked, screen dimmed. It was like it wanted to be found. I tapped the screen. Calendar open. Today's event. Lunch with M. clinking glasses. 1 p.m., Hotel Maplewood. That same place. That same damn hotel. I stared at it, chest cold and hollow. M, not even a name. Just a letter, like the universe wanted me to guess. I didn't need to guess. I already knew. I turned around and nearly jumped out of my skin. June was standing there. Messy bun. Yoga pants. Coffee in hand like she hadn't just been scheduling lunch dates behind my back. You're home early, she said, blinking. Calm. Too calm. Couldn't sleep. Caught the red eye. Must have been a rough flight. She took a sip of coffee. You should rest. She didn't ask why I was standing there with her phone in my hand. She didn't ask how the trip went. She didn't ask anything. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a panic response. This was rehearsed. I placed the phone on the counter, slow and careful. Who's M? She hesitated. Not long. Not enough to look guilty to someone who hadn't flown home with a question burning a hole in his gut. But I saw it. Just a flicker. Oh, that? Just my friend Monica. You've met her at brunch. Monica, I repeated. Yeah, we're catching up. She's been having a rough time lately. Huh. I nodded like I bought it. At a hotel. She smiled. They have great lunch specials. Sure, and I moonlight as a ballet dancer in my free time. I didn't say it. I just smiled back, matching her lie for lie with my silence. She turned and walked upstairs like nothing had happened. But I stayed put. Because something had happened. This was it. The calm before a storm I didn't ask for. The prelude to a truth that was about to kick my door in wearing cologne I didn't recognize. The hotel. The flowers. The Uber. And now a lunch date with a letter. I wasn't dealing with a mistake. I was dealing with a map, and the trail was leading straight to betrayal. You ever feel your brain split in two? One half wants to stay calm, sip coffee, pretend everything's fine. The other half is pacing the room with a baseball bat, screaming, check the damn evidence. That was me, standing in my kitchen, nodding at my wife while my gut prepared for war. That morning, June left to meet Monica, with a smile like she'd just solved world peace. She even kissed my cheek. Like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just uncovered a florist receipt with my name and her hotel. The second she walked out that door, I moved like a man possessed. First stop, our laptop. She always used the shared one when her phone was acting up. Sure enough, I found what I didn't even know I was looking for, a half-closed tab in Chrome. Google Maps. The route to the Maplewood Inn. Already flagged in the history. But it wasn't just the map. Oh no, June had left breadcrumbs. The kind that turn a man into a detective, whether he wants the badge or not. I opened her email. She never logged out. Rookie mistake. There it was. A thread with someone listed only as M. The subject line? Thursday kiss mark. Inside were a few emails. Flirty. Careless. One stood out. I booked the room again. Same place. Same time. I left you something on the nightstand. Can't wait to see you without all that hesitation. Attached was a photo. The hotel room. The bed unmade. A glass of wine still full. And there on the pillow, a single lily. Not exactly subtle. I sat back in the chair, the air suddenly too thick to breathe. This wasn't a flirtation. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a routine. She'd been meeting him regularly. Same place. Same hotel. Same floral arrangements. Probably same damn cologne I smelled in our bedsheets a week ago and told myself was a new detergent. I stood, looked around the house. Our house. Framed pictures on the mantel. That dumb plaque she bought that said, "Forever starts today." The irony practically hit me in the teeth. Noon came faster than expected. By then I'd showered, dressed, and packed a camera in my glove box. I wasn't going to confront her yet. That's what she'd expect. A dramatic showdown. Tears. Gaslighting. Not today. Today, I was collecting evidence. Not to fight her, but to bury the lie with its own footprints. So I drove. At 1:05 p.m., I parked 2 blocks away from the Maplewood Inn. Sure enough, her silver crossover SUV was already there. I walked, slow and measured, like I had all the time in the world. Nobody looks suspicious if they walk like they're supposed to be there. I strolled past the lobby, circled to the side lot, and waited. At 1:14 p.m., he showed up. Tall guy. Navy blue button-down, sleeves rolled up like he was starring in a commercial for betrayal. Bouquet in hand. Not red roses, lilies. Of course. I snapped a photo. He walked in without a glance around. Confident. Complacent. He didn't think anyone would be watching. But I was. At 1:22 p.m., I called the hotel. Asked for room 312. Told them I was her brother. An emergency back home. They transferred the call. And I heard it. June's laugh on the other end. Soft. Flirty. Hello, she said, breathless. I didn't say a word. I just hung up. Because that was all I needed. The pieces had finally clicked into place. The map was clear. The flowers. The Uber. The name on the card. And the woman I married? She was upstairs, entertaining a man who brought her lilies while I stood outside like an unwanted memory. But I wasn't just a memory. I was the husband. The one who was supposed to be out of town. The one she forgot to erase. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I wasn't interested in revenge, not the loud kind. Anyway, I wasn't going to yell, break furniture, or paint her lover's car with a baseball bat. No, I wanted something quieter, something unforgettable. I didn't want her to scream. I wanted her to think. Let it haunt her at red lights. Let it keep her company when he's not enough. I drove home in silence. There's a peculiar calm that follows betrayal. Like your brain, realizing it can't stop the bleeding, decides to mop the floor instead. I brewed coffee I didn't want, took out the trash, folded laundry. It was absurd, domestic, and mildly poetic, playing the part of the faithful husband in a house she'd already stepped out of. By sunset, I had a plan. No rage. Just architecture. I pulled out the black notebook I usually used for budgeting and made a list. Not of names. Not of threats. Just steps. Simple, clear, and surgical. Change passwords on shared accounts. Call the bank and split the credit cards. Book dinner at her favorite restaurant. Leave the envelope. That third one? That was the heart of it. A dinner. Our anniversary dinner, in fact. She had probably forgotten. I hadn't. I called and made the reservation at Bellamara. White tablecloths, real candlelight, the works. They even remembered us. Is this for the usual table, Mr. Ford? The hostess asked. I smiled. Absolutely. Let's make it special. And then I went shopping. Not for flowers. Not for wine. For a suit. One I could disappear into dark navy, tailored sharp, clean enough to slice through whatever fantasy she'd built with her mystery man. While I was at it, I had an envelope printed. Heavy stock paper. Elegant. The kind lawyers use when they want to scare you without raising their voice. Inside, I placed the photos. Him entering the hotel. Her car outside. The email printouts. The florist receipt. The Uber log. And one final touch. A note, handwritten, in all caps, centered on the page. You left the door unlocked. I let myself out. That envelope was going to be the period at the end of a love story she thought she was writing alone. The next morning, I played my part. Told her happy anniversary. She blinked, surprised, then covered it with a smile so quick it looked like a reflex. Oh my God, she said, kissing my cheek. I completely lost track of time. Don't worry, I said, cool as a pond in October. I made a reservation. 7:30, Bellamara. Her eyes lit up, and for a moment I saw her trying to slip back into the old rhythm, like a musician pretending the crowd hadn't noticed she missed the beat. Fancy, she said, grabbing her phone. She didn't know the house was already empty. I'd spent the day packing. Just the essentials. Clothes. Important documents. That old picture of my dad and me on the fishing trip we never repeated. Everything else? She could have it. The furniture. The wine glasses she picked out in Barcelona. Even the mattress where they probably got cozy while I flew coach to Arizona. Let her decorate her new future with the bones of our past. I left the envelope on the dining table. Dead center. You couldn't miss it unless you were blind or guilty. Then I showered, shaved, and slipped into the new suit. At 7:10, I arrived at Bellamara. At 7:30 sharp, I was seated. They brought the wine list. I declined. I wanted to be clear-headed. She showed up at 7:42. Late. Lipstick on. Wearing the red dress I used to call trouble in silk. She slid into the chair across from me, radiant and rehearsed. You look amazing, she said, eyes wide. I smiled, almost fond. You too. We talked. Or rather, she did. She told me about Monica's promotion, about the awful traffic, about the weird new intern at her office. It was a performance. I nodded, played my role, even complimented her earrings, ones I hadn't seen before. Probably a gift. Probably not from me. Then the waitress brought the check. I'd prepaid the meal online. It confused her. You paid already, she said. I did. She tilted her head. You're acting strange. I shrugged. Maybe I'm just tired of pretending everything's fine. She went still, like someone froze the room. I leaned forward. I know, June. She didn't ask what I knew. She knew exactly. Her hand twitched, just once. She reached for her napkin, then stopped. Did you follow me? She asked. I didn't have to. She closed her eyes. A slow exhale. So what now? I stood up, buttoned the jacket. I left you something on the table at home, I said. Right where you could find it. Eli. Happy anniversary. And I walked out. Didn't look back. I could imagine the moment perfectly. Her coming home, heels clicking on the hardwood, calling my name, maybe out of habit. Then seeing the envelope. Opening it. realizing that every lie she told had been cataloged, printed, delivered with the quiet precision of a man who'd had enough. She'd see the note. She'd see what I took with me. And more importantly, she'd see what I didn't. Her. I didn't go home that night. Didn't need to. When you leave an envelope full of truth on your own dining table, you don't linger to see the reaction. You let the evidence do the talking. The silence afterward? That's just the world adjusting to a new truth. I checked into a modest little inn outside of town, the kind of place that doesn't ask questions and still gives you 2 packets of sugar for your coffee. It had a lamp that buzzed slightly and a mattress firm enough to recalibrate your spine, but I slept better than I had in months. When I woke up, there were 12 missed calls. 10 were from June. 2 from a number I didn't recognize until I remembered that mysterious M could also dial a phone. I ignored them all. My voicemail was full. Her voice, cracking under pressure. Rushing from apology to confusion to anger and back again like a merry-go-round that no longer had a break. Eli, please, call me back. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. We need to talk. There's more to this than you think. You're being cruel. You blindsided me. At least give me the courtesy, Al. Courtesy. Interesting word, coming from someone who'd been booking hotel rooms behind my back while I was trying to improve our credit score. I deleted the voicemails. What struck me most wasn't her panic, it was how quickly it arrived. See, guilt doesn't hit fast unless it's been riding shotgun the whole time. She wasn't shocked that I found out. She was shocked I didn't collapse when I did. June had spent the last few months building a safety net for her next chapter, only to realize I'd cut the ropes while she was midair. Mid-morning, I got a text from her. Why are you doing this? I didn't reply. She already knew the answer. But I had to admit, part of me wanted to respond. Part of me still saw the woman I used to believe in. The one who used to sit cross-legged on the kitchen counter and sing along to 70s rock while sipping wine from a chipped mug. But that woman was a ghost now, replaced by someone who texted a man under the name M and lied with the ease of breathing. At noon, the doorbell camera at our house sent me a notification. June was standing there, pacing, wearing a sweatshirt she probably thought looked casual and not desperate. She rang, waited, knocked, left, came back 10 minutes later and tried again. Then the footage showed her talking. To the door. Like I could hear her. I made a mistake, she said. Eyes wet but not weeping. A real one. But you didn't even ask why. You just left. That's when I realized something. June still thought this was about her reasons. She thought if she said the right combination of words, I'd offer her redemption. As if betrayal was just a test I failed to pass with grace. But this wasn't about her mistake. It was about her choices. And the difference between the two is the difference between a bruise and a break. I powered off the app and went back to my coffee. Around 3 p.m., I got a call from an old friend, Nick. Mutual friend, really. He and his wife had known us since before the wedding. He spoke carefully, the way people do when they've been told to stay out of it and immediately failed. Look, Eli, he said, she's calling everyone. Crying. Saying you blindsided her. That you, her words, set her up. Like this was some kind of trap. I couldn't help it. I laughed. She wants sympathy, I said. Yeah, man. And to be fair, she's got a couple folks believing she's the victim. Of course she did. Nothing sells quite like a broken woman with mascara tears and a shaky voice saying, I just made one mistake. But here's the catch. Most people forget to ask what the mistake cost. I'm not here to run her name through the mud, Nick, I said. But I'm also not cleaning up her mess. He was quiet for a second. Then he said, she's scared. Not just about you leaving, but about you being calm about it. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. That's because she expected chaos, I said. Tears. Screaming. Maybe a punch thrown at a wall. But silence? Silence means I've thought it through. And a man who's thought it through is the last man you want to lose. That night, I took a walk downtown. Cool breeze, lights blinking on one by one. I passed by the boutique where June once dragged me inside to help her pick earrings for her mother's birthday. They're probably still in that velvet box, buried in the closet behind regret. I wasn't angry anymore. And that, honestly, was the scariest part for her. See, when a man's angry, he still cares. Anger means he's trying to make sense of the wreckage. But once he's quiet, once he's made peace with walking away, you don't get him back. Not really. Not the man you knew. She texted me again later that evening. You're going to destroy everything over a mistake? I didn't answer. Instead, I placed the phone face down on the nightstand and let the silence speak for me. Because if she still thought this was about destruction, she never understood who I was to begin with. This wasn't about burning our life down. It was about leaving the matchbook behind and letting her wonder how close the fire really got. I woke up on a Wednesday and didn't recognize the man in the mirror. He had the same jaw, the same faint scar under his lip from when he tripped on a rake at 13. Same eyes, too, gray-blue, tired around the edges. But something was off. Not broken. Just rearranged. It's a strange thing, identity. You think it's fixed. That who you are is cemented by routine, your job, your spouse, your favorite coffee mug. But pull one piece out, like a wife who vanishes into a hotel room with a man named M, and suddenly you're looking at a version of yourself you didn't know was waiting underneath. I wasn't sad. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was unrecognizable. And I think that's what scared her the most. Because when she looked at me, she saw the man she cheated on. But when I looked at me, I saw the man who left. After 2 weeks of silence, June stopped calling. The texts went from long paragraphs to single lines. Then from "Can we talk?" to "Just letting you know I'm stopping by tomorrow to grab some things." She didn't ask. She announced. It's cute, really, how people who cheat still expect to control the tone of the conversation afterward. I replied just once. Your things will be on the porch. She didn't argue. Not directly. Just left me on read and followed through 2 days later. I watched from a window as she pulled up in her SUV, alone. Hair tied back. No makeup. Hoodie and sunglasses, the unofficial uniform of public shame. I didn't go outside. She gathered her boxes like she was afraid of being seen doing it. Like if she moved fast enough, the neighbors wouldn't connect the dots. Good luck with that. We live in a cul-de-sac where people pretend not to watch but could draw a crime scene sketch of your Amazon delivery guy. She didn't ring the bell. Didn't leave a note. Just loaded her car and drove away without looking back. I stood in the hallway afterward, in the same spot where she used to kiss me goodbye on weekday mornings. And I realized something. It felt cleaner without her. Not better. Not yet. But cleaner. Like the house had finally exhaled after months of holding its breath. That weekend, I started doing something I hadn't done in years. I started living for myself. It began with small things. Bought a real coffee maker. Not the single-serve machine she insisted was sleek and minimalist. This one had settings, levers, even a milk frother. I didn't even use it. I just liked knowing I could. Next, I repainted the home office. She always said navy walls felt claustrophobic. So I painted them navy. 2 coats. A whole afternoon with old vinyl records spinning low in the background. It looked amazing. Rich. Mature. Like a man lived there. Not a doormat in khakis. Then I found the shoebox. Buried in the closet. Tucked behind her old scarves. Inside? A stack of things I hadn't seen in years. Photos. Notes. Receipts from road trips. A list of baby names we never used. And tucked near the bottom, one of the first cards I ever gave her. Anniversary number 1. My handwriting was slanted and way too earnest. I'd written, "No matter what life throws at us, we'll fight for each other. Always." I read that line a few times. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so sincere. I meant every word when I wrote it. I believed in her the way people believe in sunrises and parachutes. Turns out, some parachutes don't open. And some sunrises aren't worth waking up for. I lit the card on fire in the kitchen sink. Watched it curl into nothing. That night, I poured a whiskey and sat out back. It was quiet. Cooler than usual. A single moth danced near the porch light, bouncing off it like it hadn't accepted the bulb didn't want to be touched. I got it. I really did. It's hard letting go of something that used to warm you. And yet, here I was. The next day, I signed the papers. Filed for divorce online. Efficient. Professional. Cost less than our wedding cake. I didn't tell her. She'd get the email notification. I owed her the truth once. Now I just owed her completion. But here's the thing no one tells you about rebuilding after betrayal. You don't start over from scratch. You start over from experience. And that's a hell of a blueprint. I went to the gym. First time in 6 months. It hurt. Everything hurt. I stretched muscles that had been neglected as long as my self-respect. I was winded halfway through, drenched by the end. But I walked out feeling taller. I reconnected with old friends, ones June had gently phased out over the years with subtle disapproval. "They're kind of immature," she'd said once. I called one up. Dave. The guy who helped me move apartments back when I had nothing but a futon and a microwave. We met for wings and a beer. Within 5 minutes, we were laughing about the time we both got food poisoning from gas station sushi. For 2 hours, I didn't think about her once. Progress. That night, I passed a mirror on my way to bed. And this time, I recognized the guy staring back. He was tired. Sure. Bruised, maybe. But he looked real. Honest. Like someone worth fighting for. Someone who wouldn't let himself be forgotten again. Not by a woman. Not by the world. And especially not by himself. 3 weeks after the dinner, I got a message. Not from June, but from him. M. Real name, Miles Langston. Custom suits, private school jawline. A LinkedIn profile that read like a champagne label. Founder of some boutique marketing agency, which is code for my parents gave me seed money. His message was short. Hey, I think we should talk. I stared at it for a long minute. The audacity. Like he'd accidentally spilled a drink on me at a party and now wanted to apologize over scotch. I didn't respond. 2 hours later, he sent another. Look, man, I didn't know. She said you were separated. I wouldn't have crossed that line knowingly. Oh, the OL, I didn't know defense. Classic. Here's the thing. I'm not a violent man. But there's a very specific itch in your knuckles that comes when someone dismantles your life and tries to call it a misunderstanding. Still, I wasn't interested in a fight. I was interested in making sure people remembered how they got here. So I sent one message back. Congratulations. Your plan B, don't let her forget it. He didn't reply. 2 days later, June texted me again. You had no right to contact him. Funny how she forgot who invited him into our lives first. She handed him the knife. I just wrote his name in the police report. I didn't respond to her, either. But I did write something else. A letter. Not a rage-fueled manifesto. Not a list of grievances. Just closure. You didn't break me, June. You broke the version of me that believed in you. But that version needed to go. I see that now. He needed to be cracked wide open to let the real man out. So thank you, in a strange way, for giving me the wake-up call I didn't know I needed. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm just done. And when you lie awake at night wondering why the new guy never really measures up, remember this. You didn't just lose a husband. You lost someone who would have taken a bullet for you. He's gone now, and you won't meet him again. I folded it, sealed it, and mailed it to her office. No name on the return address. I didn't need to see her read it. I just needed to know she did. The neighborhood started buzzing. Divorce papers were public. Word got around. People who used to wave politely at June in the driveway now crossed the street a little earlier. Women whispered in yoga class. Men at the HOA meetings nodded at me like I'd come back from war. Someone must have asked June what happened. Because 2 weeks later, her cousin messaged me. She's saying you changed. That you got cold. Shut her out. That's the thing about cheaters. They don't just rewrite history. They do it in pen. But I didn't defend myself. Not publicly. Not online. Not in little neighborhood gatherings. Silence, used properly, is louder than a megaphone. And slowly, the narrative shifted. Because the people who knew me, really knew me, they knew I was the guy who mowed his elderly neighbor's lawn every summer. The guy who worked overtime to take his wife to Rome for their 10-year anniversary. The guy who used to carry her heels at weddings so she could dance barefoot. So when the lies started, they didn't stick. Not because I denied them, but because they didn't fit. She showed up at the new place. I was renting a modest 2-bedroom condo near the edge of town. Nothing flashy, just quiet, clean. No echoes of old arguments in the walls. She knocked once. I opened the door, saw her standing there in a coat too expensive for the weather and eyes that didn't quite know what to say. I didn't invite her in, just stepped outside, closing the door behind me. Why are you here? I asked. She hesitated. I guess I needed to see if you were okay. I am. That was it. No monologue. No dramatic goodbye. She looked down at her shoes. Do you hate me? I thought about that. No, I said. I just don't know you anymore. And I don't think you know you, either. Tears welled up. I didn't flinch. I didn't soften. She reached into her bag and handed me something. A photo. Us on the beach. Our 3rd anniversary. I was holding her hand. She was smiling like she believed in it. Keep it, I said. You're the one who forgot what that day meant. She nodded, then turned and walked to her car. She didn't look back. This time, neither did I. A year later, I ran into someone new. At the hardware store, of all places. She was comparing types of mulch, holding a bag like it had insulted her. We laughed about it, talked about gardening, then coffee, then books. Her name was Lena. She didn't ask about June. She didn't pry. She didn't flinch when I told her I'd been married. Just nodded and said, people grow out of old chapters sometimes. Doesn't mean the story ends. And that's when I realized something. It didn't end. It didn't even crash. It cut loose. What June did, that wasn't the end of my story. That was just the part where the wrong character got written out.